Hey everybody, it is Kathy with Backyard Columbus, and I am hoping that I can be coherent for today's episode. Um, Behind the scenes here, it has taken me almost 2 hours to get this episode put together. I ran into a load of technical glitches that I hope I have figured out, and I think I have figured out, but it has left me pretty frazzled. So this is take number 7. So hopefully I'm going to present all of this information to you in a concise and coherent order. And one of the reasons I've been so manic about trying to get this put together is because I'm on a timeline, because this topic is National Pollinator Week. It is this week, June 16th through the 22nd. And so I want to get this out on National Pollinator Week. So what is National Pollinator Week? So National Pollinator Week is obviously about pollinators. And in case you aren't familiar with this, because I try really hard to not assume that everybody knows what I'm talking about, pollinators are just say the birds, bees, butterflies, all that kind of thing that go from plant to plant, collecting pollen or getting pollen on their little bodies and transferring it from plant to plant, because that's how plants reproduce. Okay. And so it is very important that pollinators exist and do their jobs. And again, to go further down the line, pollinators are anything from butterflies, which most of us love, bees, which some of us love, to hummingbirds, flies, birds, bats, beetles, ants, and some amphibians apparently, and some mammals apparently. Okay, so all of those creatures help move pollen from plant to plant, which is very important. Why does this matter? Let me read to you a host of things that need pollinated. First of all, and very importantly, chocolate, okay, which comes from the cacao plant. Most of the cacao plants, some are self-pollinating, which means they don't need any of the things I just listed, but the majority of them, for healthy pollination, for cross-pollination, they need pollinators, okay? And so I personally am a huge fan of chocolate, so I don't want my cacao plants to go away. But this is just a short list: almonds, apples, blueberries, cherries, alfalfa. It's probably not going to change your life unless you have a horse, but tomatoes, pumpkins, squash, zucchini, and cucumbers all rely on pollinators. And so without the pollinators, we have a huge problem. We don't have those food unless you're going to hire a kabillion people to go hand pollinate and take pollen from one flower and smush it all in the parts of another flower. Literally, that's never going to happen. So this is why we need to protect the pollinators, and I can give you easy ways to go about that, and more so why that matters in just a minute. So one of the famous statistics, and I don't want to get too far down in the weeds. Number one, I can't get too far down in the weeds because I'm not an expert on this subject. I am passionate about this subject, and it, matters in my own yard. Like, we have a home garden, and I have tomatoes. We grow tomatoes, and without pollinators, we don't get tomatoes. I don't get squash or lots of the things that I just mentioned. So 1 out of every 3 bites we take relies on a pollinator. And so that's kind of a big deal. You know what I mean? So what would that mean? Like, by a third, we would lose food that we eat, unless you just sit around and eat ding-dongs all day. But I'm sure something in a ding-dong came from a plant. Okay, so it matters no matter what you eat, relatively speaking. So this National Pollinator Week is calling attention to them and calling us to action for conservation. Okay, and you might be tired of hearing about that, but without the pollinators, we are really screwed. And so there are very easy ways to help this situation. And so, like I've said many times, we're not talking about elephant conservation here, okay? We don't have to, in general, save huge tracts of land and battle poaching and all that. One thing that does affect pollinators, and this is a very short topic here, is climate change. I'm bringing this up so that you're educated on it and I can share the knowledge that I've researched and that I know, but I don't want you to get bogged down by it, because there are lots of things for a fact that climate change affects, but I think that can overwhelm many people because that is such a big problem that is caused by big corporations and way bigger things that are above our pay grade to battle, that I don't like to linger on that too long. Okay. So I'd like to bring that back down to things that we can control in our own yards, in our own spaces. One of those things is pesticide use. That is a big deal. And I never make fun of anybody who doesn't know. Okay. People, we have been brainwashed in many ways to think that our lawns have to be this luscious green golf course-esque lawn. And that is not true. I mean, it's pretty as far as grass goes. It's pretty to look at. In my experience, most of the people who dump fertilizer and pesticides on their lawn to kill everything and to artificially feed their lawns, I don't even see them on their lawn. You know what I mean? So they're spending all this money. They're spending all of this time. They're harming wildlife to look at their green grass. I would rather look at my beautiful flowers in the front yard because we have replaced, I would say, 75% of our grass with flowers and native bushes and things like that. So avoiding pesticide use where you can is very, very, very beneficial because, in case you did not know, you spray for all these creatures, pesticides and herbicides. You put them all over your lawn, and it is not just killing the things you don't want. I had a guy come to our neighborhood once, and I have signs, tasteful signs. It's not like weird, not like billboards all over our lawn, but we have an organic whole deal going on here. Okay, it's a Pollinator pit stop. It's a Monarch way station. It's an all organic space. And this guy was selling, and he's like a kid. I swear he's like 19 years old or 21. He is selling lawn applications, like pesticides. And he came up to me and wanted to sell us this whole application. And I said, hey, we don't put any chemicals on our lawn. We like to, it's an all natural thing. And he's like, well, it's only going to kill the spiders. And I'm like, I don't kill spiders because spiders are necessary in the whole ecosystem in our lawn. And he looked me straight in the eye and he's like, well, it doesn't really kill them. It just makes them go somewhere else. I'm like, so you want to send them to my neighbor's house? I mean, first of all, they don't even know what they're talking about. And you also have to be very careful if somebody's saying they do organic lawn care and really question them on what that means. But even the people who are applying these chemicals to your lawn don't understand that it is not driving things out of your lawn and they're just going to pack up their little insect bags and go to your neighbor's house or go somewhere else. It's going to kill them all. Fireflies, larvae like caterpillars. There are caterpillars that are laid. Let me say that again. Butterflies lay eggs on specific kinds of grasses, okay? And those eggs turn into caterpillars and they are in the ground. And so if you spray your lawn, you are spraying those caterpillars. And so if you can follow the circle here, I think the statistic is 90% of songbirds or songbirds feed their babies, 90% caterpillars. But the point is, loads of songbirds feed their babies caterpillars. And if the caterpillars that are in your area, because perhaps you don't have milkweed that has monarch caterpillars or any other kinds of flowers that have caterpillars on them, those songbirds would be getting the caterpillars from your grass. Does that make sense? And then if you spray everything, you just didn't feed a bunch of baby birds. So the point of that little rambling rant is that there are things in your yard that need to exist, and you cannot specify with a broad spray of chemicals on your lawn what you're going to kill and what you're not going to kill. So I hope that made sense because, again, I told you I'm all over the place in my brain today. But as little pesticide as you can use, AKA, if you could please not spray your lawns with pesticides, that would really, really, really help. And I've said this before, and I think it ticked somebody off who was a purist. If you've got a corner of poison ivy that you cannot get rid of, and say you forgot that you can use a gardener's grade vinegar, which is a 40% solution of very strong vinegar. It is not household vinegar. You could probably get it at a garden center or on Amazon for a fact. It's very I don't know if it's alkaline or acidic, but the point is it's very, very strong. It will also kill the poison ivy. But I'm just saying, if that is the only thing that you sprayed, that would be great. The big plea here is to pretty, please do not spray your lawn with pesticide. If most people did that, we would see a huge surge of fireflies. We would start to see fireflies again. We would see more butterflies. We really would. That is practically a promise. So that is number one. Number two, if you could get off the no spray list for mosquitoes, that would be amazing. I know in Columbus, Ohio, you can get off the spray list. All right. I don't know about other counties, other states, things like that. We are on a no spray list. I know for a fact, I know or think that what happens is I will get overspray. I think it is a computerized thing. So they're like, spray, stop, because we asked to not be sprayed, spray. So we're probably going to get the overspray, but at least my yard will not take a direct hit. And that is of value to me because I don't want anything sprayed in my lawn because that is a pesticide as well. It's not just some benign mosquito-only spray. It is a pesticide. So again, many of us just don't know these things because it's not kind of in your wheelhouse. It's not where you're living. Where most people are living is, what do I got to buy at the grocery store? I got to pay my bills. What do I have to do at work tomorrow? What does my kid have, or what does my dog need, or whatever? So this is, again, why I do this podcast, because I like to share information that enhances your life. Ultimately, because the things that you can do in your yard can make you happier, and that does have an effect on your life. So number three, and this is a big thing that I've talked about before, it's kind of a buzz on social media and all that, is planting native. And what that means is planting native plants. Plants have grown in certain areas for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, okay? And so, look, I might get this wrong, but say, Asiatic lilies, this is a fact. Asiatic lilies, it's literally in the name. They are not native to Ohio, okay? They are native to Asian countries. And you're not going to bring about the downfall of the earth if you put an Asiatic lily in your landscaping, but you are also, in essence, not helping the local pollinators. So what the deal is with native plants and the local pollinators, those have grown together over the millennia. And so those pollinators rely on those native plants. Okay. And so when you bring in something exotic like an Asiatic lily, it's not invasive. Okay, so that's a different term. It's not invasive like Amur honeysuckle that overtakes everything. That's on all those, out in the countryside. It's all over fence lines. It's all over everything. Those are invasive, and invasive species overtake the native species, and that's why invasive species are bad, because then they wipe out what was originally here. Exotic species don't do that, but they don't help anything either. And so native plants that have been, I'm talking about Ohio specifically, our native Ohio plants help our native Ohio pollinators and whatever in your area. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And that is a very big help to our local pollinators, is to plant at least some native plants. I, again, am not a purist. I am not going to tell you that if Asiatic lilies remind you of your grandmother because she had Asiatic lilies and she made you happy and those lilies made her happy and that makes you happy, then plant some. Okay, that's not going to hurt anything. But I would also encourage you to plant some native plants, like here in Ohio. This would be easy ones. Coneflower, echinacea, that is a coneflower, purple coneflower. Coreopsis, black-eyed Susans. I'm going to end up not remembering everything, and we have all of this in our yard. Let's see, royal catchfly, Anise hyssop, I probably slaughtered that one. Milkweed, we have 7 species of milkweed, I think, here in Ohio. That is necessary for the survival of the monarch butterfly. The point is, listen, you can Google native plants to Ohio, native pollinator plants to Ohio, native pollinator plants to Columbus, Ohio, or wherever it is you live. You can Google that, and it will give you an extensive list for shade, for sun, for partial shade. That will be very, very helpful in helping our pollinator population. Okay, so I will tell you that pretty much does it. But the skinny of how you can help for National Pollinator Week, you're like, okay, hey, I'm in. I like butterflies. I like hummingbirds. How can I help? Reduce your pesticide use as much as possible, aka avoid it altogether. Provide a water source. They all like a little bit of water here and there. And put in a pollinator garden. And a pollinator garden does not have to be anything extensive. The more the better for sure. But if you have limited time, you have limited funds, you have limited physical ability or limited space, listen, put in 3 pots. I say this all the time. Put in a pot of milkweed that will attract monarch butterflies. Put in a pot of fennel and dill, like a little herb garden. You will actually attract black swallowtail butterflies. They will lay their eggs on your fennel or your dill, and then you'll get caterpillars in there's just the whole life cycle. And then put in a pot of zinnias, okay? Or again, any nectar producing flower. That you can Google that as well, and you will do a whole lot of good. We have one of our pollinator gardens in the front yard. It is 12 square feet. I have another one that's 20 square feet, and then we have them, of course, all over the yard, but it doesn't have to be anything big. So, $20 and 12 square feet, you would be amazed at what will end up coming to your space. So that is it. That is how you can help the local pollinators. Put in some native plants, avoid pesticide use if you want to skinny it down to 2 things, and bam, you have done a whole lot of good. So if you have any questions, please hit me up on social media. Kathy at Backyard, no wait, info at backyardcolumbus.com. Just go to backyardcolumbus.com and you can find me on there. But on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, a little bit of TikTok, not much, but that is my website, also backyardcolumbus.com. I thank you for listening. I thank you for hanging in there in my all over the place episode today, but hopefully there's at least a couple things you can take away and go find something today that you can plant for a pollinator. Have an awesome day.